The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you. Hello, and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
the surprise bad guy that's not even a surprise, that is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him.
Yeah, they kind of tried to pull the same trick twice on us between these two movies.
Oh no, they're in a pattern. What are we talking about this week, Anthony?
Yeah, so we're back with Monster High 2. And, you know, if you remember when the first Monster High came out, we were like, oh yeah, we'll watch this, it'll be dumb, we'll make fun of it, it'll be fun, or whatever. And then we loved it. So
yeah,
it's like, there's a new one coming, let's see. I gotta say, I liked this, but I don't think it's nearly as good as the first one, though.
No, this is hard sequelitis, for sure.
Yeah.
After watching it, I don't even know what they're building towards.
Yeah, we do get a little teaser at the end that makes me a little optimistic for how much I might like the third one. We'll get to that eventually, but yeah, it felt like they were having trouble figuring out what to do, and they just decided to add more characters, which tends to just kind of muddy things up and stuff. It just didn't feel as like focused, and like the songs weren't as catchy. I feel like the first one did well, and they were like, oh shit, we got to crank out another one of these quick.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they knew that it was going to be such a hit, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they were just like, this is for money.
Right. Yeah, and it surprised us. You know, it was fun. It was well done. But yeah, like you said, it's the fate that so many sequels run into, where the studios get excited and rush one out, and they don't get to put the effort into it that they should. No. And also, like, okay, is two were creatures too many? Because it almost feels like it is, right? Yeah, it really felt like they were trying really hard to make like a good rival for Claudine, so it had to be another were thing. But
right, or does Toralei just suck?
Yeah, she does.
Which one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
even when she's a good person, she sucks.
Yeah, she does not have the charisma that the like trio of the main characters do.
Honestly, like I think the actress has Selena Qureshi has charisma, but the character has so much negative charisma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or at least the way it's written.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, I feel like the first movie, it looks like they're kind of building this into a trilogy of, like, part 1 is the Claudine movie, part 2 is the Draculaura movie, part 3 is going to be the Frankie movie. But
okay, I'm in for number 3 already. yeah, thinking about that.
I feel like they couldn't really commit to it with this one, though. Like, there was a lot of Claudine in this still, which is fine. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't want it to just be Draculaura, but, like...
she's still kind of the MC, right?
Yeah. Like, the first one was heavily Claudine, and this one feels kind of 50-50 on Claudine and Draculaura.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's very accurate, actually. Now that I'm looking at it, it's like, well, Claudine's supposed to be kind of the main character, but no... in this one, she should step back. And it still seems like they didn't want to let Claudine step back.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, the first one ended with the tease that, like, the witches were going to come for Draculaura, and that is one of the plots of this movie. But then you also just have the whole, like, the Claudine and Toralei thing that...
the Quidditch Cup or Goblet of Fire. The prefect. Who's going to be the prefect? That's it.
Right, yeah.
It really is exactly, it's not exactly that plot, but it's kind of that plot, right?
Mm-hmm, definitely.
It's effectively their Goblet of Fire.
Yeah. When you have, like, a magical school, like,
the connection there is pretty easy to make. But like the first movie, I feel like they managed to mostly stand alone and do their own thing. Even having like the evil teacher and everything, which was a big Harry Potter through line. It still felt like its own thing. But this one, that the whole thing with like the big skulls filling with sand and everything, it felt very Harry Potter.
Please tell me they have like a electric duel with death in the third one. The girl who lived has come to die. Sorry.
That feels like maybe the direction we're going. We'll see.
Or the they them that has come to that lives has come to die.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So let's get into it. We start off with like an Eek Talk video, like
right.
the spooky version of TikTok. And it's a pretty clever way to just like give us like previously on Monster High. You just have like a fanboy who's like really into Claudine and like basically tells everything that happened in the last movie.
Yeah, pretty much just that's our recap. Great, awesome.
And then we find out that video has gone viral and like Claudine is like famous now in the monster world for fixing
being
Monster High, basically. Kind of. It's again is kind of a Harry Potter thing of like, she's bringing balance to like the monster and the human world, and helping half humans into Monster High and gain acceptance, and Muggles. All it just feels very like
Mudbloods
that.
or whatever they call them.
Right. Yeah. Then we go to Dracula's castle, where I never could figure this out. Like, Dracula is throwing a party, and they keep talking about that her birthday is coming up later, and that they're planning that party. But this is not the birthday party. Is it just a back-to-school party?
Yes, it is literally, they mention it is a back-to-school party.
Okay. And so,
Summer's over. We have to have a party for it.
Right, yeah. Which I think this kind of extends the previously on. It's a way to be like, hey, here's all these characters. Remember them? Here's Heath, the guy with fire for hair, and he's still kind of a himbo. And here's Deuce with his angsty, like, emo snake hair.
Right. We also, here's Laguna. She likes to eat things in the water because she's a mer person, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and she like makes a puddle on the floor, and Dracula has to do a spell so that Dracula doesn't get upset about the, water damage on his hardwood floors.
Right.
The doorbell rings, Dracula runs to get it, and there's Claudine, and she's like, where have you been? You're late.
Right, Claudine's like, I brought a friend.
Yeah, and Frankie jumps out and is like, it's me, I'm the friend.
We stand Frankie. Yeah. They're the best.
Yeah, and like, I think that them jumping out and saying, I'm the friend is definitely like, that's kind of the arc we're going to get. I think like, in the last movie, it was all about Frankie finding friends, and now they have them, and it's all about like figuring out how to be a friend and how to like find your role within your friend group. As
we'll learn, Frankie's also had some upgrades done over the summer.
Yeah, Claudine and Dracula, they have like monster powers, that like Claudine was like jumping over fences last time, Dracula has her magic, and Frankie is just Frankie, so they got new parts. Mostly we'll see like lightning abilities is the main thing, and also some amount of super strength, some like Frankensteiny and like door smashing a couple of times. But Frankie just wants to kind of like hold their own with the crew, and especially because it seems like weird stuff happens a lot, and it'd be good to be powerful when bad things go down.
Exactly, especially in the school, right?
Yeah, that kind of all leads into our first song, which is I think it's called like Heart Goes Boom Boom Boom, and it's like everybody basically saying that they're nervous about the next school year, hoping everything's going to work out, just trying to fit in, trying to find their place. This is very like young people trying to figure out their identities and everything.
Right.
It's mainly Frankie trying to level up, and Dracula being worried about family pressure, and Claudine dealing with like now being a celebrity and what's that mean. And
because even after the events of the previous movie, Dracula still's like, oh, we must only hang out with the most elite of people, and your friends just can't. They're not there. They're not rich like us. They're one of the lessers.
Yeah.
Fuck this Dracula.
Right. And then I think we see, again, from like the previous movie, we get a crystal ball with witchy hands touching it and saying, it's time. So the witches are going to enact their devious plan.
So then we cut to the school, first day of school, where the headmistress gets goosed by a poltergeist.
Yeah.
It seems like she gets inappropriately touched by one of the students.
Yeah. It's it's like the hustle and bustle thing, but yeah, it definitely seems like something goes on that she was surprised by in some way. Mm-hmm. She's just kind of like welcoming everybody. We get a great little short scene where Deuce, Heath, and Frankie talk about their hair-related problems. Because Deuce went to the salon and they tried to use hairspray and it blew up the building, and so now he's banned. And Deuce is like, my snake hair, I've been banned from salons my whole life.
Because it attacks the scissors and everything?
Yeah. And then Frankie's like, my hair's made from dead people. It doesn't grow, so I don't have to go to the salon.
You know what? Fair enough.
Yeah, would be nice.
Right. Would it though, Anthony? If it's made from dead people?
Well, yeah, that's true.
But then we also get Cleo, who's apparently like one of the friend group now, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas Cleo was kind of the rival. Well, turns out she's kind of a frenemies with another new character by the name of Toralei.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cleo, she has like scarab jewelry that comes to life and like warns her of stuff. I think that's. Yeah. I don't think she had that in the last movie.
No, this is new.
But the scarabs warn her that Toralei is back, and we find out that she is like a were-cat. And did like a study abroad session in Scaris, France.
Right. Of course it's Scaris. But she was also attacked by witches, and now she has a cool new scar.
Yeah, one of the things they talk about is Wraith Silver. Wraith Silver,
yeah.
This is like, in various versions of monster stuff. Sometimes it's just regular silver. Sometimes it's like Quicksilver. And this, it's like a fictional version of silver that is specifically only hurts monsters, called Wraith Silver.
Right. Which, why couldn't it just be silver? I guess it couldn't be silver because that implies, in a weird way, that monsters are inherently evil. But you're still calling it silver. You're just adding Wraith to it.
Yeah. But apparently people who want to hurt monsters use this as a weapon, and, and so, she's got these scars that she says will never heal, and it hurt really badly.
Makes sense.
And, right away she gives off like serious mean girl vibes. Like everybody seems a little intimidated by her. Frankie even goes so far to be like, you seem super intimidating, but also kind of approachable, and I want to be your friend, even though I think you'll never be mine, or something, like, kind of goes into like Frankie, mode like that. And
and I do like how Toralei's like, I like how you speak your mind, but I also don't care because I'm part cat.
Yeah.
And then proceeds to knock things over because, once again, cat.
Right, exactly, yeah. But the whole time, like, Frankie is not catching on to this. Like,
no.
They're like, hey, we're having a game night tonight. You should come by. And everyone's like, she's not going to come to game night.
No.
Like, that's not her scene at all.
Can we take one moment to also note that Toralei is extremely specious/racist?
Yeah.
She doesn't like that Claude's half human. Mm-hmm. Like, she doesn't like anything that's happened in the school the last year. Like, she's like, Draculaura, you're a witch. Magic is a human thing. Don't do that. That's evil. And Claudine, you're half human, which basically just means you're whole human, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. She definitely,
she
not to keep going back to the Harry Potter thing, but like it feels like she's like the Malfoy. Yeah. And I will say, I think that based on how the previous movie was about acceptance and everything, like, she is useful in that she, like, it kind of throws a wrench into, like, the progress of the last movie.
Right.
And we'll, as we go, it will get much worse.
Yeah, but do we need that wrench is my question. I understand the point of it, but it feels like it's also kind of dragging it down.
Yeah, it is kind of like, if the first movie was all about teaching people to accept, then like basically doing that over again from a different angle is maybe not as useful as finding a new conflict to address. Yeah. But I mean, it's clear that the people making the sort of like openness and acceptance and all that is a big part of like their mission statement for these films. So I guess
that's great.
Yeah. So, it's at least a different angle and not just like the school backtracking, but yeah, it does feel a little bit like retreading.
Right. Especially, I guess, maybe it's because it's all one character, and maybe if Toralei had a companion, I don't know, would that be better or worse? Like, maybe Toralei doesn't like witchcraft and the companion doesn't like humans?
Yeah, because we get some stuff with like other people, but they're all just kind of like nameless drones. Like Toralei is like the face of like all bigotry in the Monster Hunter universe in this movie.
Yeah, at least for the student body.
Yeah. So then, like after that whole meeting and interaction, we cut to like our main trio who are doing like a welcoming committee sort of thing. They're handing out maps to the school and just kind of like welcoming like the freshmen that are coming in.
Right, and apparently Claudine has taken time to, like, memorize their names?
Yeah, just seems to know everybody. Like, she's just, like... It feels like she's trying to be a politician or something. Like, she's just trying to, like...
kind of is, right? To a point.
Yeah, true. They kind of joke, like, nobody did this for us when we started. And they're like, we just did it for ourselves. We made ourselves feel welcome, and now we're just carrying it on and making the next generation feel welcome as well.
Yeah, paying it forward, right?
Yeah.
Well, it works because she now has, like, a following in, like, half human, half monster people, specifically, like, almost led by Demi Bouvier, a half ghost.
Yeah.
How did that happen, Anthony?
I'm so confused. Like, half werewolf makes sense. I can understand the concept there. How can you be half a ghost?
That would imply that, okay, have you seen that scene in Ghostbusters? Where, you know what I'm talking about. Like, that's it, right? You get sexually assaulted by a deceased person. Or maybe it's more consensual.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. And, like, ghosts are theoretically dead people, so if you're a half ghost, can you die? Or are you...
Right.
It really seems like her main thing is that she can walk through walls like a ghost, but sometimes she can't because her human part takes... You know how Claudine would sometimes, like, freak out and her claws would disappear and stuff?
Right. When Demi gets excited, she is fully corporeal.
Yeah, just crashes into walls. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they've started like a pride club and it's human, like human and monster. So and they've got their own sort of like pride flag symbol and everything. It's kind of cute. Like they're and this does, like we were saying with Claudine, like this really reveals what she has done for the monster world, like helping there. She wasn't the only one, but everyone else was feeling like they had to hide, and now everybody can kind of come out and be who they are. Come out
from under the bed, I guess it would be this.
Yeah.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So let me bring up some contrast here. Okay, in the same reason I don't like Toralei, like the exact opposite is exactly why I like Demi. That's very interesting to me. Like Demi is like, hey, acceptance. Basically all of the lessons we learned in the previous movie. Mm-hmm. Awesome, thumbs up.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess they kind of do serve to be like competing sides of this, like these two new characters. Yeah. And then we meet our other main new character, who's kind of right in the middle, Ellis, who is a new vampire, and like he and Laura bump into each other, and they like drop their books and everything, and it's
a meet cute for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And so they're definitely enamored right away. Draculaura's excited to meet another vampire.
Yeah, they learn that they don't like garlic on their pizza because it burns them, and they also just don't like anchovies because it's gross.
Right. And so we go from their meet cute to our like established couple of Claudine and Deuce, who are hanging out like on a park bench. She's talking to him about being stressed about being newly famous, and he's still dealing with like the pressure of his family wanting him to like go full Gorgon instead of being like part of the monster community.
Okay, so question. So is this supposed to be like a take on the whole Spartan what's it called? The where the Spartan kids went out in the world, or is this like is he the monster version of Amish and going on his Rumspringa?
Yeah, I wrote Rumspringa down too. It definitely feels similar.
It's called the Gorgodium.
Yeah, so it's like they're supposed to take a year and like go into like the Gorgon world and like learn who they really are before they decide where they fit into society.
Right.
Deuce already is like, I'm not really that kind of Gorgon. Like I feel more at home with all the monsters here at Monster High and like the found family we have here.
Yeah.
But he's kind of just he's still getting a lot of pressure, so he's kind of trying to decide what to do. And then they kind of do it. So like looking in his eyes can turn you to stone, but also looking in his snake's eyes can turn you to stone. So like
that's deadly.
Yeah. And of course, so he always has to wear his like beanie cap and his special glasses so that he can kind of feel free for a minute. Claudine puts his glasses on so that he can take his hair out. Yeah.
They allow protection for,
Yeah, and so she's able to, like, look at him without his hat on and everything. But then there's a spider nearby that gets turned to stone, and it really, like, I think it kind of really upsets him that, like, he just feels like, I'm never going to fit in here. I'm always going to have to cover myself up because, at any time, someone could get hurt by my abilities that I can't control.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's hard for him to kind of deal with. And then I think we cut to, like, there's, like, the school opening assembly kind of thing is going on. Everybody's, finding a seat and everything. And I think that's when the headmistress talks about the new prefect thing.
Yes. Basically, the school itself will choose who it wants to be the rivals for the prefect, and it'll eventually decide who's going to win. It's going to give them 150 points to Gryffindor. I mean, Claudine.
Right. Yeah, it all of the, it almost feels like the Sorting Hat plus the Goblet of Fire mixed together. Because, the way that they decide is like the Heath, who is the fire elemental, and was it Laguna as the water elemental?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They like go touch this stone, which causes a bunch of steam to rise up.
And then they're heating fire and water.
Yeah, and so then there's like two mirrors, and the school somehow ghostly writes the names of the two prefect candidates, who are Claudine and Toralei, as you might guess.
Right.
Then we find out that there are these two giant glass skulls in like the main lobby of the school that are.
It just feeds weird beads into it.
Yeah,
constantly.
It's kind of like an hourglass kind of thing.
Sorry.
But one's purple for Claudine and one's orange for Toralei, and whoever gets full first wins the prefect.
Win. Yeah. So we know the rules now, as clear as they are.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no sort of determinant, like the school just decides who gets more beads based on
arbitrarily.
Yeah, they like I think even Draculaura and Frankie are like, this is basically just a popularity contest, and the school just picks who's more popular.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But we also find out that Claudine's mom was prefect in her time.
Yeah, so that gives her more impetus to want this. Like she didn't really get to know her mom. That's the whole reason she wanted to go to Monster High in the first place, was to connect with her. So this is another way to kind of follow in her footsteps. Right,
and we get one of Toralei's awful jokes where she mocks Claudine as an unaware wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. And she says something about that, she wants to protect monsters. She doesn't know what Claudine's goals are as prefect, but, she's all about keeping everyone safe.
Right.
It's some very, like, America first kind of nonsense, but...
No joke, right?
Yeah.
Make Monster High great again.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, at least Draculaura is being proactive, though, and decides to take some pictures that she drew of Claudine and starts making, basically, magic photocopying them.
Yeah.
For posters.
The campaign posters, and she makes Claudine's slogan, "The only way to have a friend is to be one."
To be a friend. Aw.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, the friendship thing is definitely a big part of this story carrying on from the last one, and they all, group hug, they're all, like, excited, and then Frankie accidentally shocks everyone, because...
As you do.
Yeah, they're still not quite, they've got all these upgrades, but they don't really know how to use them yet.
Right. Just takes some time, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, we also get that wonderful, we get Demi coming in asking about what Claudine thinks about Toralei calling witchcraft a filthy human habit that puts Monster High at risk.
Yeah.
So now there's the mudslinging aspect we're getting into now.
Mm-hmm. Already kind of like, using hate speech. Like, this definitely feels, I mean, it is very much like a post-Trump movie. And Cleo is upset by, what Toralei had said, and volunteers to be Claudine's campaign manager, that they're going to bring her down.
Right. Well, Claudine also calls Toralei a catty little beat, and they have to bleep that out. Or not bleep it out, they just don't get there.
Yeah.
But, so here's something that I thought of at the time, and I think it would have made the movie a little bit better, was if Demi and Toralei were both in league with the witches, and, like, Demi was the one running, being like, oh, she said blah, 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 blah. Or maybe even if Demi was the bad guy, and Toralei was perfectly innocent. That would have been a nice little twist, I think.
Like, switcheroo on us, yeah.
Exactly. Because it does seem like Demi is coming in just being like, she's being a snitch, basically.
Yeah, stirring stuff up.
And yellow journalism and all that.
Yeah.
So.
I think from there, like, the next thing we see, of course, everybody's frustrated with the way that Toralei is behaving, so we see Laura is, like, by herself in, like, the graveyard that night and creates, like, a spectral copy of Toralei to, like, beat up on using her witchcraft.
She makes the eyes and feet enlarge. Mm-hmm. Which, that's traumatizing.
And then Ellis comes upon her, and he's like, oh, that's pretty good, but you should try this. And he does a different spell.
Listen, I know that motherfucker's a level 9 spellcaster because that was Simulacrum from D&D. Okay? You're not telling me that's not exactly what that spell was. And she's also fucking level 22 because she does the exact same thing right after him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, he shows her how to do it, and then she does it. First they just make another Toralei that's a little bit more realistic and kind of beat up on it or whatever, but then
they do a dance number.
Yeah, they each create a duplicate of themselves, and so it's like a 4-person dance number with 2 Draculoras and 2 Ellises. And, they kind of have like a Megan look to them, really. Like, they're like mostly realistic, but the faces are a little uncanny valley.
Yeah, it looks like, I don't know, if they put liquid latex on their face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure it was like they just made masks of the 2 actors and put them on, dancers or something.
Oh, yeah, no. They definitely don't look exactly like the actors, Nia Damison, or, what's Ellis's actual name? Bonali Fambrini. Good name there. That's a hell of a name.
But yeah, so they do this whole dance, and of course they're singing, and it's about, not only now has Dracula met another vampire, but she's met another vampire witch. Yeah. And that's especially exciting because specifically vampires and witches have been in this war forever, so of course, that was a big thing with the last movie, was that her dad didn't want her to practice witchcraft because that's the enemy's thing.
Right, humans. They're the worst.
Yeah, so, they're definitely bonding. They're feeling really good about that. And then we hear, like, the curfew bell. They have to, like, hurry back to bed.
But Claudine and Frankie, they're already there.
Yeah, and Frankie's like, what do you think about my new upgrades? Like, is it Thoreau? I can't remember. She's
Ralph Waldo Emerson. What is that fucking libertarian type quote? The purpose in life isn't necessarily to be happy; it's to be useful.
Yeah,
is that right? I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like that either. But I think Frankie at least feels like that is the way that they can be happy, is to be useful to their friends.
Right.
And it feels there's some insecurity here, like we talked about earlier, like they don't have, or they didn't have powers, so they tried to get upgrades, and so they're asking Claudine, like, am I doing a good job? Like, do you think I'm on your level now? And of course Claudine's like, yeah, absolutely, like, you always were. Like,
Frankie was always the best.
Yeah, but also Claudine, it was a weird, I feel like they were leading to something that they never quite got to, because at first Claudine's like, yeah, you're good, and then she starts getting texts from Cleo about the campaign,
This is basically Claudine's, like, I'm a shitty friend moment. Because I'm more caught up in my political aspirations than my actual friends. The people who got me here.
Exactly. And
she does the same thing with Draculaura later.
Yeah. It felt like it was going to be like a kind of a big arc that, like, Claudine was going to learn, but it doesn't really lead to anything exactly. She just kind of figures it out. Like, there's not like a big confrontation about, like, you've been a bad friend or anything.
No, it's quite the opposite, actually. It's definitely a wet fart of a resolution. Because, like, we were always great friends. All right, keep doing what you're doing. Bye.
Yeah. And here, of course, Frankie, like, okay, it looks like you're busy. I'm going to go to bed. And, like, doesn't seem to be upset at all. Or is just, better at hiding it, maybe.
Well, yeah. My rejection sensitivity dysphoria, I think is what it's called. That really fucking got to me. I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah. It felt like they should have kind of dwelled and let her, like, sit there, like, lay there in the dark with their eyes open, like, looking a little hurt,
Do my friends want me to be here, or should I just leave now?
Yeah. But instead we end up getting interrupted because Draculaura gets back to the dorm, but at the same time, 2 cloaked figures appear and, like, attack. So there's, like, a whole big kind of showdown. Frankie and Claudine basically send them away. Like, Frankie uses electricity and Claudine, growls, does some werewolf stuff.
Right. Power of the school goes out for a moment and everyone's like, what happened?
Yeah, it turns out, Frankie fried the circuits. We get to, like, a scene where the headmistress is kind of, like, debriefing, talking to everyone involved.
Yeah, our portal was breached. We're in deep shit. Yeah,
and they've determined that these were witches. So, what's going on with that? And then Toralei bursts in.
Ah, fucker. That's just the worst.
Yeah, this is probably... this is the beginning of her getting really bad.
Yeah.
And, the headmistress is like, I'm just talking to the students who were involved in the incident. You need to go. And she's like, well, I'm a prefect candidate, and I care about the safety of students, and so I deserve to be here.
Right, and they're only after monsters that practice witchcraft.
Yeah, and she's pretty clever in her bigotry because she's not just like, witchcraft is bad and we should get rid of it. She's like, witchcraft could be the thing that endangered the students. Maybe Draculaura practicing witchcraft is like a beacon that other witches can sense her, and they came here. And so you should probably ban it. And the headmistress is like, well, we want to be inclusive, but we also want to be safe. So we're going to go ahead and ban it. And she specifically says something like, until we do more research or something like that, which is very much like a dog whistle kind of situation that we get now, where it's like, well, maybe abortion might be okay, but we need to do more research. So let's just ban it for now. Or... hormone blockers for trans
kids. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's a way of saying, well, if we can't justify stopping progress, we can at least put progress on hold indefinitely while we don't actually do anything to...
That's pretty much the goal, right? Just hold it up until everyone forgets about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that definitely
she's from the southern United Monster States.
Right. And we get another song here that's kind of like it's like a
ban witchcraft, basically. I literally wrote the ban witchcraft song.
Yeah, like Toralei is singing like, you should be afraid. I think part of it she just keeps saying you should be afraid over and over again. Meanwhile, Claudine and her friends are like countering it and talking about how we need to come out of the shadows and be strong and brave and everything. It's kind of a debate in song form.
Very much the Republican versus, everyone else who's being oppressed song.
Yeah, but unfortunately...
Do you think they actually thought about that, Anthony? Like, the writers? Like, someone had to, right?
I think so. I think that, a lot of this is very, like, intentionally political.
Right.
And unfortunately, Claudine finds that fear-mongering is a pretty effective political strategy, and a lot of the people that were dancing behind her eventually start moving over to Toralei's side of the debate. So,
I mean, if you convince anybody that they're in danger, of course they're gonna, do what you want them to do.
That's the easiest way to get people to vote against their own interests, is convince them that it's going to keep them safe.
Yeah, that brought me to a lot of trauma from 2000 and 2004.
Yeah, they do a good job of making this feel like a just a fantastical version of like what we've really experienced in the past, 15 years or more.
And honestly, this is probably the most entertaining part of the movie, which is weird, especially when the witches are involved.
Yeah, I mean, the tension there is you're definitely like invested.
Yeah.
Once the song's over, that's when the headmistress is like, yeah, until we know more, let's just go ahead and ban it. And then we cut to like the next day, Draculaura is talking to her dad over the painting, the way that they communicate.
I'm going to bring you home because you're in danger being in that school.
Yeah, and Draculaura's like, no, it's important for me to be here, and he's like, well, okay, maybe I'll come out to see you soon then instead.
Does she actually spill the tea that there are other like vampire witches?
I don't
at this point?
think she tells her dad that.
Right, but she does tell Frankie, right? Yeah,
I think she does tell Frankie and Claudine, because Frankie comes bursting in at this point, and Draculaura's like, I'll talk to you later, Dad. And Frankie's like, Toralai's pulling ahead, and it's by a lot. I don't know what we can do. Then this is where Claudine kind of starts to do what a lot of Democrats often do, where she's like, well, maybe we should just backpedal and play along with Toralai and kind of say we're on their side a little bit. And
please never stop doing that. Do the opposite, please.
Yeah. She's like, Draculaura, you could just kind of go along with the ban for a little while, and then once I get elected, then I'll be in power, and we can, it's the vote for us again and we'll fix the abortion thing. Vote for us again, it's... It feels pretty gross.
Man, I wish this would have like a really impactful moment. Anyway.
Yeah, but Draculaura is pissed about this, as she should be. She's like, okay, so we supported you in the last movie when we had the mixed race thing going on, but now you want me to just go back in the broom closet. Claudine's like, yeah, but I can make it all better soon. And she's like, no,
I can use my power to protect the students.
And Draculaura's like, no, I am a witch, this is who I am, I'm not gonna apologize for it. She storms out and goes to Ellis, the only person who really seems to know where she's coming from at this point.
Yeah, it would be really shitty if Ellis wasn't a vampire right now, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah. And she kind of goes on her, rant about what her friends have just done. She's upset.
Right. I want to be my best, most authentic self, and I think I could be that with you. Hey, Draculaura, I got something to tell you. I'm not a vampire. Shit.
Yep, he's a human witch, and he's so good of a witch that he was able to disguise himself as a vampire. But he wasn't part of those witches that snuck in and attacked.
No, they're part of the Salem witches.
Yeah, the Salem Coven. His mom is Queen Zamara, and they want to bring peace. And he's been sent here to kind of like help recruit her, because if we get some vampires and some witches together, this can solve everything. And Draculaura is instantly like, yes, this is my purpose in life. This is what I want.
Yeah, we get the history that they stole from Van Helsing, where or maybe even Underworld, where a vampire fell in love with a witch, and somehow he wanted to be mortal with her, but they made a potion and ended up killing him instead of making him mortal.
Yeah, instead of making the witch immortal, they decided to make the vampire mortal. But it's one of those things where, like, if you're a vampire and you're 600 years old, when you turn human again, you're a 600-year-old human. You die instantly. So yeah, it's a mortality curse, is what they call it.
Right. So that does lead to a good point of why not just bite her?
Yeah.
Or does that not work now though? Like in this world. Is like if you're born a vampire, you're always like a vampire, because there are hybrids.
Presumably maybe it would cause like a half vampire or something, but that would be better than turning a vampire into dust by making them mortal.
Listen, Anthony, I'm going to warn you against that line of reasoning. Have you ever seen a documentary called Castlevania? That would be an interesting take in this world.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. Draculaura's like, yeah, let's go. First thing tomorrow morning, we can see your mom, we can go to the coven. This is perfect. And so then we just see the next morning, Claudine and Frankie waking up, and Draculaura's, they're like, she stormed out, she was mad. Have you seen her? What's going on? Is she okay? And then they see there's a little note. I don't even think we really see what the note says. They just they see that there's a note, and then Cleo
busts in and she's like, All right, where's Draculaura? Oh, yeah, she's a political millstone, so it's good she's gone now.
Yeah. And then we see, like, them at the cafeteria talking to all the friends, and they basically, like, yeah, you know, she's going to this coven and going to try to, like, bring peace between the vampires and the witches.
But Draculaura did leave something behind. She left her simulacrum. All right,
Yeah.
she's cast 3 fucking simulacrums in the last 24 hours. She is beyond powerful.
Right. And so she knew that the simulacrum wouldn't, like, be a fully functional Draculaura, but she made
it could cough and fart.
Yeah, her idea was she would make it sick and then tell everyone she was sick, and they could see her. But yeah, its display of sickness is just to sneeze and to fart, which is they play for all kinds of laughs.
Yep. Listen, my humor is that of a 12-year-old child, okay? It got me. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they talk about, so Bloodgood came by, they tell her that Draculaura is sick, and she's like, oh, okay, and then you hear, like, a loud fart from the coffin, and she's like, oh, she's that kind of sick. Yeah. I hope she gets feeling better, and she, like, takes off and leaves.
Then her dad calls on his portrait, which is wild.
And he says that he's going to come to school and throw Draculaura the party that she wanted, not the big party he originally wanted to do. He's going to do,
She's going to have her peasant party.
Yeah, respect her wishes, which is a good thing, but he's going to be there tomorrow. And, of course, Draculaura's not there.
Let's also talk about this, because he mentions once she hits her 16th birthday, or no, 1600th birthday, that's when she's going to become a full vampire.
Yeah.
Is she not? What does that entail?
Yeah, I feel like we ran into this with Hotel Transylvania also, where it's like, when you want to have a teenage vampire, like, the numbers get real weird. They don't know what to do. Like, what Mavis was turning 118 in the first.
Yeah, 118.
Yeah, which is the equivalent of 18 somehow. And in this, it's even bigger, weirder numbers. But she's still a high school student, so yeah, it's they just don't really know how to handle that.
Right.
But yeah,
she was born in 420 AD and finally a high school student.
Right.
Jeez. Vampire gestation must suck.
Yeah.
Hey! Sorry.
But so obviously Claudine and Frankie are trying to, like, deal with Dracula, and they're like, oh yeah, Draculaura's not here right now, and then you hear the fart from off camera, and Frankie's like, oh, I ate cheese, sorry, and Dracula's like, okay, I'm gonna go. So yeah, more fart jokes. So this is like, they're still talking to the friends at the cafeteria, and they just keep cutting to, like, flashbacks of all the bad things that have happened this morning. And then the last one is, and also she left her cell phone, so we have no way to contact her to let her know that her dad's coming and that, things are spiraling out of control very quickly.
Right. But, I mean, Alice is also missing, right?
Yeah, so maybe there's clues there, so they end up breaking into his room, because I think Draculaura's letter said she was going to a witch coven, but not which one. And so there's Frankie knows the whole list, and there's, like, several on every continent, like, except for there used to be one in Antarctica, and it died off, so there's none there anymore.
I mean, that makes sense, honestly.
Yeah.
But also, wait a second. If witch covens are well known, like, I feel like the church would want to know this information, or they should already know this information, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem strange, like, when we meet more about this coven here in a little bit, like, it's hard to say what the mundane world knows and what they don't know.
Right, because we have a hierarchy of oppression here, right? Humans oppress witches, oppress vampires and other monsters.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and then humans are at the very bottom, or sort of, yeah. But the humans also oppress. It's like more like a really messed up triangle with.
Is this a human centipede of oppression? It always comes back to that. That's how I view the world right now. It's just
right.
Human centipede.
So they search Alice's room. They don't really find anything, and then the last thing they find his luggage. behind the main luggage tag, there's a secret luggage tag that indicates that there's an address or a zip code.
Yeah, return code to Seattle, Washington.
Yeah.
Why would a monster go to Seattle, Washington, though?
Yeah. Does that card say Coleman Eves on it? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they decide they're going to go to Washington and go to Coleman Eves' headquarters and figure out what's going on. And at first, it's just going to be Claudine because, she can make herself look human. She can blend in the human world. So she goes through the portal.
Cleo gives her scare Bastet, who's going to warn her of any witches, I think, is what it is. Or magic.
Because Cleo has the 3, so it's kind of like they have communicators now. They can kind of sort of keep in touch a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then, pretty much immediately Claudine ends up bumping into Frankie, Heath, and Deuce, who have also gone through the portal.
Ahead of her, I guess. But they're wearing hoodies.
Right. Because they're like, we didn't agree to let you go by yourself. We want to be here to protect you. But, they're all wearing sunglasses and hoodies. But, Heath is orange.
Right.
Deuce...
green.
Yeah, and Frankie is blue. Like, they're very obviously not human.
Either that or they're into some interesting stuff and using a lot of body paint.
Yeah.
But also, this is the driest shot of Seattle I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Like, usually there's some rain or something going on, right?
Yeah.
Has Seattle ever been this dry? I'm asking. I just want to know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in reality it does rain a lot, and like in television and movies it rains even more because it's just... It's the defining feature of that city for,
right.
for simplified stories.
I call it the London of the West, right?
Right, yeah.
Sorry, that was a stupid fucking joke.
So Claudine is like, okay, well, you all stay outside, and I'll go in. So she goes into Coleman Eves, and we see that it's like this very, new agey kind of place.
It's the weirdest new age corporate bullshit I've ever seen.
Yeah, it just looks awful. It's all like Zen gardens and patchouli, and then while the other 3 are waiting around, Frankie is like, wait a minute, Coleman Eves, that's an anagram for Salem Coven.
Why would you do that? Why? Like I do that shit in D&D, but that's that's part of the fun, right?
Right.
Is like having a very obvious fucking anagram. Where it's like, why? Why would they even give a shit?
Yeah. We're going to hide, but in obvious plain sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the best way, sure, but like, I don't know. You could do a better like new age shit than that. Like Zamara Industries, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's too on the nose. I don't know.
And while Frankie's doing all of that, Heath has discovered that hot dogs...
He likes hot dogs?
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, these dogs. And, Frankie's like, no, they're not actually dogs. Because Frankie knows everything like this. They go into, like... It's actually named after, they were originally called dachshund sausages. And he's like, dachshunds are fire then. I love eating dachshunds. and Frankie's just like, okay, good. Enjoy. Like, right. I'm done trying to educate you.
I've made my attempt. We're done. But it turns out Bastet has... it's glowing because magic is fucking everywhere in this building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like there's a witch hiding out here. This whole place is just like full of magic.
It's witches all the way down.
Yeah, and Claudine's like, oh no, that's bad. And then she sees there's a little sticker that's like protected by, I forget, what was the security company name?
Oh yeah, her dad's security company. I don't remember off the top of my head.
But she's like, oh, this is how things are going to work. So she leaves Coleman Eves because obviously she can't handle this whole situation by herself. And, like you said, this is a very corporate environment. It's like, you got to use your badge to get through the turnstile, then use your badge again to get on the elevator. Like, you're not going to just sneak in.
Yeah, we got some biometrics in the really sensitive wings.
Yeah, so obviously Claudine, with her dad being, working for a security company, this is how they're going to find a way in.
Right. But this is when we actually get Ellis introducing Draculaura to his mom, who's like really cool mom, but also probably not. She prefers to go by just Z.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. she gives off like the most like villain vibes right away. Like, things are definitely not what they seem here.
She would absolutely fit at home as a villain in a Marvel movie, right? Mm-hmm. A corporate villain.
Yeah, but somehow, Draculaura is completely missing that. Yeah.
Because Z is like, we just, we make up a bunch of health, stuff for people like we used to do, but now because they really care about their health, they're stupid and they'll just drink the herbs, right?
Yeah, so they're doing all of the kind of like new age bullshit. That's their like, cover or whatever.
Right, and she whips up a potion and just fucking Dracula drinks it.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, like legitimately, you're walking into a war zone and you're just going to drink whatever someone hands you. Like, I'm not going to drink something just a random stranger hands me at all.
Right, absolutely, yeah. But Zamara's like, this is going to be perfect. There's a big witch conclave tomorrow, and if we have you speak, maybe this can be the thing that like, creates peace between our two factions.
We'll finally have peace at last.
Yeah. And so then, back down with our, heroes, Claudine's dad has arrived, and he's like, I've always wanted to be the guy. I'm going to get to be the guy. I'm really excited about this. I'm
the guy in the van.
Yeah. And so he's able to, like, hack into biometric scanners and, can see the heat signatures of everybody in the building. But wait.
But it's easy to find Draculaura because she doesn't have a heat signature.
Yeah, he can see that there's a person there, but there's no heat signature. So he's like, yep, I know exactly where she is. He's going to disable some of the systems so they can try to sneak in.
Yeah, and they got 5 minutes to get there and out pretty much.
Yeah. Before he goes out, Claudine is talking to, or she gets a call from Cleo, and Cleo's all like, you need to get back to school. Like, there's all this stuff going on with the campaign.
Toralai's making a bunch of shitty jokes. I don't even remember what they were. They were just like, it's like if I was a monster, this would be offensive. She's telling racist jokes now.
Yeah, it was something to do with cookies that had Claudine's face on them, but I forget what the actual joke was.
Yeah.
But
something about how do you know a werewolf made these cookies? Or I don't know. I don't care. It's dumb and awful.
Yeah. But, Claudine is like, man, I really wish that I was as, I had things put together and under control the way Mom did. And her dad's like, no, she did not. Like, now after the fact, you just see the good in, the stories or whatever. But your mom was a real person. She had, anxieties and fears, and she had problems. Like, she was a normal, real person.
She was stressed the fuck out.
Yeah. But the most important thing is that she always tried to do what was right, even when it wasn't popular.
Exactly.
So that's the lesson that he's trying to impart to her, is that
But why? Like, this is a good message, and this would make a great movie. Why does it fall so flat?
Yeah, it's just like they're trying to do too many things, and
that's what it is.
And it's definitely that, we keep talking that they were reusing a lot of the themes from the previous movie, and if they had kind of cut out some of that and focused on some of these kind of new angles, it might have felt more focused.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if they'd left... Okay, what does the prefect storyline do? Right? Does it do anything? I don't think it does.
Yeah, I guess it only serves to, keep Toralai and Claudine in conflict with one another, and that maybe they would be... But it makes Claudine a weaker character because she's worried about politics instead of worrying about taking care of her friends and taking care of the school. And but I guess it is, when he says she did the right thing even when it wasn't popular, we'll eventually get to where Claudine has to make a choice whether to be popular or do the right thing.
Right.
Maybe that's... But yeah, it feels like... Yeah, I think
we
that
got too many plot threads going. That's the problem. I get it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But so I think then... while Claudine and her dad are talking, we see Deuce and Frankie. They're talking as well.
We almost have a romantic moment between the two of them. Like, they are calling him kind of the ultimate monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sweet. I think of course, Frankie's through line in this movie as we keep saying, is that they don't feel powerful enough. And, you know, Frankie's like, you have all the power. You're the most powerful monster here. And, you know, he's like, yeah, but it's too much power. I don't want all this power. Like, it's too much of a responsibility. I can't, you know, I have to basically cage myself up all the time just to exist in the world. I can't just be me.
Or I kill all these motherfuckers around me. I'm basically a walking nuke.
Yeah. And Frankie's like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel so weak and helpless all the time. That power just sounds so good. And Deuce is like, you're not helpless. Like, you were the most helpful of all of us. Like,
right, you got us in here. Your electricity shorting everything else, helping us make our way through, right? To a degree.
Yeah, you're always there for your friends, and you're full of heart, and you never give up, and that's
full of knowledge.
Yeah, that's what we need. You know, like and I think that is definitely also another new message to this movie that could have been a little better focused on. That, you know, like. Mm-hmm. Everybody has different skill sets, you know, and that's important. Like, if we're all, you know, like, you know, you mentioned D&D. Like, if we're all tanks, then the party is, you know, it's unbalanced. It's not going to be helpful. We need...
Or if we're all wizards, we're going to fucking die real easy.
Yeah. We need a mix. We need everybody to bring their own unique skills and talents, you know, and flaws. Like, flaws can be helpful in ways. They can reveal things. Like, we want complicated people, and we want unique people. So yeah, it feels like this is one of the nicer moments in the movie for me. Like, their conversation, I think, is really sweet.
Right. Yeah, it's a good one.
And I think then Claudine comes out and is like, okay, Dad's got everything ready. It's time to go. We're gonna head in, but Heath, you have to stay behind. He's gonna be able to disable the cameras and the biometrics, but
not the fire alarm.
Yeah, so you'd set off that. So and he's like, oh man, that sucks, and so he just stays behind.
Rough, man.
Yeah,
but I do. So we didn't mention earlier, but when Frankie was busting in one of the rooms earlier, blows the door off the hinges, basically. Mm-hmm. And this time, just knocks the actual, like, handle off the door. Now, that is an appropriate amount of oomph.
Yeah. Again, it's, you know, if you try to take on more power than you're capable of, you don't use it right, you know. And I think Frankie's got to find the way to work in the... Like, it's almost like a Goldilocks thing where, like...
Right. Yeah. You got to find the precise amount of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They end up, like, I think they all kind of get separated because Claudine is going to go find Draculaura.
Deuce sits back to kind of stand guard.
Mm-hmm. And Frankie ends up, like, hiding under a desk as, like, some witches go by and they're speaking French. Mm-hmm. And Frankie knows a little French and is like, says on her birthday she can be the voice of everlasting peace. Mm-hmm. Maybe Draculaura is going to solve this war. Maybe this is on the up and up, right? Yeah. And around that time, Claudine does find Draculaura and is like, things are crazy at school. Like, you've got to come back with me. Your dad's going to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Draculaura's like, no, I can't. Like, this is where I need to be right now. You made the world a better place last time. This time it's my job. Yeah, I need to be here and to do this. You know, and of course, as we've been implying, like, Draculaura is wrong. This is not going to work. But her motives and her idea, like, she is right in that, like, if this was a real opportunity, this would be where she would be needed. And the fact that Claudine's like, but your dad will get mad and my campaign, and it's like, no, those don't matter. Like, if this is a centuries-long war and Draculaura has a chance to maybe do something about it.
Save thousands of lives.
Yeah, so that leads to, they have a kind of a debate song. I think this
Debate/breakup song.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the better songs in there, and it's really sad, but, like, I think it's called This Is Not How Our Story Goes.
Right, yes.
And, you know, it's both of them just being, like, laying out their argument. You know, you need to come back, like, the school needs you and all that, and Draculaura being like, no, this is where I belong at the moment, and...
Well, even Frankie just joins in near the end and is basically like, I just don't want my friends to split up.
Yeah. Stop. You know, I just don't want you to fight. Mm-hmm. They all kind of just have, like, a tearful goodbye. It's kind of like, it's a friend breakup, but it's like, it's just kind of like, we need to go these separate ways at the moment. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of stakes here. Like,
right. Yeah, that's the problem, right? It's like, okay, well, we're going to all go do our own things. The only one who's actually suffering, really, is Frankie.
Yeah, it feels like it's just like, okay, well, we'll agree to disagree. We'll get back together once we do our solo missions, basically.
Right.
Then I think, like, Claudine does go back to the school then.
Right.
The whole crew does. They do leave Draculaura behind, as she asks.
Well, it's time for the speeches for the prefect, right?
Yeah. And first we get Toralai's speech, which is just like an anti-witch hate rally. Like, it is pure hate speech. It's awful. We get just a little bit of it, and then we see Cleo and Claudine, like, kind of backstage talking, like, Claudine's getting ready to go on, and Cleo's like, Toralai has got the entire mob on her side.
Yeah,
You
gotta go anti-witch.
Yeah, you have to agree with her on this topic, or there's no way you're gonna get it. Claudine, she seems very conflicted about this. You know, when she goes out to the podium, it's like, what's she gonna do? What's she gonna say? This part, I think they did kind of a good job of, like, building the tension, because she comes out and is like, you know, witches are bad. The only good witch is a dead witch. And it's like, oh,
right.
Man, she is going in.
She's gone full villain at this point, right?
Yeah, but no, she's quoting hate speech, and she's like, this is what we keep hearing, but that's
the only
not...
good human's a dead human also, right?
Yeah, and she's like, this is the way that oppressors keep us down, like, by dividing us up and making us try to hate each other.
Yep.
So she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I think there is a place for witches here at Monster High. There's a place for humans here. Like, we can come together and be better as a group, which... Again, you know, it kind of goes back to, like, Draculaura, Claudine, and Frankie all having different things to offer. Like, these cultures have different things to offer, and if we all work together, we can produce better things than we could independently.
Yeah, it's like the moment America was a melting pot. That's when we were at our best, really.
Absolutely, yeah. So Claudine, pretty much, you know, this is the moment that she took her dad's advice. You know, like, she knows this isn't the popular thing to say, but it's the right thing to say.
Right. Well, and unfortunately, she only gets a medium amount of claps.
Yeah. So it's definitely Toralai is coming out better from these speeches.
Yeah.
But back in Seattle, Draculaura is watching Claudine's speech on her cell phone. So then when Zamara comes in and is like, okay, it's about time for your speech, Draculaura's like, I'll be back, but I have to go back to the school. I have to help my friend.
Oh, no, dear. See, here's where you get this wrong. What you don't understand is you're not a guest. You're a captive.
And you have been from the beginning.
Yeah. And the moment you took that, what? Was it the drink that helped her give her power over Draculaura?
I think so.
Stupid fucking drink.
Yeah. And, you know, they're witches. And so, like, Draculaura's been in this kind of, like, nice sort of sweet hotel room kind of situation, and as Zamara's revealing that she's a captive, that facade kind of fades away, and we see that she is imprisoned.
Sterile lab.
Yeah. Zamara's like, we've got a plan for you. Like, you are going to bring peace between the witches and the vampires by getting rid of the vampires.
Turns out if we get a vampire to say the mortality curse, all the vampires go away.
Right, exactly, yeah. Then Cleo, back at school, is like, hey, that scarab of mine that you left behind in Seattle, something's wrong, something's going on. We need to get back to Draculaura to save her. Toralai overhears this and is like, what are you up to, wolf? You know, like, something's going on here. And Claudine's like, no, I found my truth. I said what I needed to say. And, you know, now we've got to go help. Gotta go help my friend.
Yeah, we gotta fight the witches.
Yeah.
That's what Toralai needed to hear, though. She's like, I'm in.
Yeah. Suddenly she's on their side. Yeah. And then Frankie's like, oh, so I've been thinking about that translation, and I don't think it's the voice of peace. I think it's the voice of eternal rest.
Yeah.
So the mortality curse, they're going to use Draculaura to recreate it.
Right, exactly.
And it's, you know, it's supposed to happen right at her birthday, which is midnight tonight. So we've got our stakes, our, like, time crunch. We've got to get there and stop things quickly.
Right, exactly. Yeah, then we get a whole speech by Zamora again about how she orchestrated everything with Draculaura, even planning a book, spell book. It's like Baby's First Spell Book. She slid that in on Draculaura.
Yeah, this has been a long con. Now, Draculaura is caged in a cage of wraith silver, so she's stuck. Draculaura's like, you're the Salem Coven. Like, you know what happened in Salem. It was about hate and dividing people up. And, like, you're doing the same thing over again. You have a chance to be better. Obviously...
But no, this is our time to be the oppressors.
Right, yeah. Which is such a... I mean, this is also a true thing, you know, like, anybody that's in a position of, like, you know, being low on the totem pole, you can kind of make them content there if you give them someone lower than them. That's why you have poor white people in the South who hate poor black people in the South, because at least we can be above them. I mean, that's a tool of the higher people to, like, orchestrate these sort of rivalries amongst the lower classes.
Right. Make up fake bullshit. If you can make up fake bullshit and get people to go along with it, you can do anything.
Yeah, exactly. But so as Zamara's talking about this, Ellis is shocked to, like, find out, I thought you really were going to try to, like... He thought the plan was they were going to kidnap Draculaura and use her as a bargaining chip with Dracula. Which is already a pretty evil plan. Right?
He's not a good guy in this, no matter how it shakes out.
Yeah, but, you know, he is surprised to learn that they're going to try to kill all the vampires. That seems a little too far even for him.
Well, don't worry, because Draculaura, damn it, she's not going to say the mortality curse. Except, turns out Zamora has a little bit of mind control going on.
Mm-hmm.
So and she is.
Yeah, she just immediately starts saying this, like, Latin phrase over and over again. Mm-hmm. So the whole crew arrives outside of Coleman Eves again. Claudine's dad is there. He's really excited to be the guy. Now we're not trying to be stealthy. We're just trying to, like, bust in and go all out. So he just turns all the alarms off and just, like, lets them run wild.
Well, I mean, they specifically instruct Heath to go wild with his fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the distraction, Heath and Deuce team up, and it's pretty great. Like, they're just, like, standing in front of a security camera, and, like, Heath, like, sets off like a bunch of, like, sprinkler system stuff, and they're like, yeah, they're talking to the camera like, hey, you should come down here, there's bad things happening. And so, like, the two main sort of witches, the ones that tried to, like, kidnap Draculaura at the school,
it's a guy witch and a girl witch, and I don't know anything else more to describe. They're so fucking generic.
Yeah, there's no names to them. They're just, the bad guys. So they come down, and we get, like, kind of a fight between the four of them. Yeah,
well, it seems like the lady witch, like, she almost takes Heath out. Like, she almost freezes him, and then she grabs Deuce by the throat. But here's the problem with that. That puts her in perfect striking range of his snakes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm assuming he killed her. We don't see it, but it's implied.
Yeah, it seems like it, because she's, like, holding his glasses on, thinking, like, oh, you know, Gorgons are no good if they don't have their stone sight. But yeah, she forgets about the snakes.
Can't forget about the snakes.
Yeah, nope, definitely not smart. The group kind of keeps, like before, dividing off into chunks to where we get...
Well, Zamara also calls Dracula just to basically either both blackmail and taunt him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then she gets word that things are going south with Deuce and Heath, so she leaves to go deal with that. Meanwhile, Frankie and Claudine have gotten to... It's like an airlock, kind of, like they're like one door away from getting to Draculaura.
Right. And they just can't get in.
Yeah, but then Frankie manages... They do this really cool thing where, like, there's like a hand scanner thing, but it's not Frankie's hand that they... But so they, like, grab onto like an electrical box. Like,
yeah, they basically grab the fuse.
Mm-hmm.
And overcharge it, I think, is kind of what happens.
Yeah, but, like, it's so far apart that, like, they have to break one of their hands off, and, like, lightning connects the hand to the arm and passes electricity through.
Because lightning or electricity arcs, baby.
Yeah. So that breaks the door, and they're able to go into the main room where there is Ellis.
Right. The slightest touch will ruin the spell. Don't do it.
Yeah. So then Zamara returns and is like, you know, it's too late. She's already reading the spell. You can't get to her because the cage is Wraith Silver. You're out of luck. Claudine, you know, grabs...
Well, Ellis does the betrayal. He freezes his mom in place because she's getting ready to stop him from doing anything.
That's right. Yeah, he freezes her, and he's like, hurry, I can't hold her too long. So Claudine grabs the bars again, and because she touched them when Zamara was there, and it burned her hands, but now she's like, I don't care. She grabs them. It's burning. There's like, you can see she's in pain, and she just keeps pulling and manages to like open the bars enough that she can touch Draculaura, which disrupts the spell.
But she passes out, Claudine, that is.
Yeah, and then like when she comes to, she's in like this weird black
Limbo?
void where she's got like sees memories of her and Draculaura and Frankie having fun together.
Okay, legitimately, like, this absolutely should have ended with, like, Death just taking her hand and being like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Because she meets the Reaper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that would have, given some stakes and set things up for, an intense third movie.
Right.
But yeah, instead, like, the Reaper's like, all right, it's your time to go. You need to surrender to me.
Right. And she's like, oh, that means I have a choice. Which, does it, though?
Yeah, I guess if he can't just take you and he needs you to surrender, that's the choice. But
yeah,
but
I also like. All right, so like even if they kept it going for a little bit longer and like had a more emotional moment where everyone's like, oh no, Claudine is actually dead, and then she does the thing where she like breathes in real hard and then comes back to life.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that would have been, because we never see anybody else responding to her possibly being dead. It's just like we see her in this dark place, and then she wakes up for a second and sees Draculaura is like turned into like a super badass.
Right, for just 5 seconds though, just enough time for them to lift Draculaura into the air on a crane and put in a bunch of CGI bats flying around.
Right.
So they ran out of budget at that point. Gotcha.
Yeah, and so yeah, then Claudine passes out again. So she's now alive but unconscious rather than dead.
Right. This is so amazing, by the way. When she does finally wake up, Draculaura's like, yeah, you should have seen me kick all their asses. She doesn't say it that way. But you should have seen me fight all those witches. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely that like, oh, all this really cool stuff happened right off camera. You totally missed it.
Right. Do you think that was a joke, or they were just trying to, get past it as soon as possible?
I would hope it was a joke, but I think it's probably more that they were trying to write over their low budget.
Yep. Okay. As long as we're in agreement about that.
Yeah. And so, Frankie and Deuce help Claudine stand up, and Claudine and Draculaura see each other, and they hug, and they're like, I'm sorry. They both apologize at the same time.
Toralei makes a joke about Draculaura using witchcraft. I literally didn't care at this point, so I didn't even write it down.
Yeah.
And Dracula arrives. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. He shows up, and he's very excited that, Draculaura's okay.
Yeah, we got some high-profile prisoners, though. We get to do some torture on these witches.
Yeah, it does seem funny that, like, it feels like this movie's getting to a moral of, like, let's all be accepting, and then they're like, yeah, but not them. Fuck those guys.
Right, not them.
They're going to Witch Guantanamo.
Right. Those people that commit terrorism, fuck them in particular, right?
Yeah. And Ellis apologizes to Draculaura, and he's like, I'm made some bad decisions. She's like, yeah, but when it counted there at the end, you did the right thing, so I can't hold that against you.
There you go. Aww.
Yeah. And they're like, maybe the two of us, we can actually be the people who bring a new era of peace between the witches and the vampires.
Right. Us being friends will stop centuries of bloodshed.
Right.
Yeah, let's see how that works out. Have you read Romeo and Juliet? Just curious. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Later, everybody's back at school. They're having the birthday party that we were promised.
They sing some song about 13 moons, 13 something, like 13 several times. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the monster birthday song, I guess. Then Demi comes running in and is like, it's time for the prefect announcement. The school has decided.
Do we need to say who won? Because it's glaringly obvious.
Yeah, like they kind of like, drum roll, like they're really building the tension. And yeah, obviously Bloodgood's like, it's Claudine Wolfe.
Right, and of course Toralei is salty as shit.
Yeah, she doesn't look happy about it, but then she does go walk over and shakes Claudine's hand and is like, she sees the scars on Claudine's hand and is like, oh, it looks like now we've got something in common. Or
Right.
Claudine says, now we've got something in common. And Torali's
Right.
like, we've always had the moon.
Yeah, we're were creatures. We've always had the moon. So I'm like, is she a little gay for Claudine?
That'd be a really nice, like, that would be, I would approve of that in the next movie if it went that
We could have a
direction.
throuple. Can we get a throuple going on?
Well, so will we see Deuce next week? Because that's
a good question.
The next thing that happens is Claudine talks to Deuce, and he's like, I've decided I'm going to go on the Gorgodian. And she's like,
no.
what? I thought you wanted to stay at school. I thought it was the whole thing. And he's like, well, it seems like you are all kind of finding yourselves, and I still kind of feel on the outs. You know, I can't figure out my place in this, you know, community. So, you know, I need to go do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe I'll be back, but, like, I gotta do this first.
Right. And I do like how Claudine's like, this is just the beginning of the school year. What the fuck?
Yeah, and this
He's
is like
like,
a
"Oh."
whole year-long thing, and he's like, yeah, that's the way it's got to be.
So he does go, well, they sing, like, kind of the closing number of the film, right?
Yeah, it's, you know who your monsters are. It's like who your friends are, and it's
Right.
it's the very, like, you know, upbeat, like, we've all learned things, and, you know, now we're, you know, we get, like, Claudine and Toralei dance together for part of it, and everybody kind of just wraps up their story, and everybody's feeling good, and, like, they've found their place in the world. It's a sweet closing number it's exactly what you expect for this movie to have.
Right. But of course, we also get Deuce leaving through the portal, but as he's leaving, he looks back to the school longingly, all sad, and the portal turns, like, green, and then the Reaper comes out, and he's like, it's not your time, or something like that, kid, and just throws him, like, through the portal?
Yeah, he, like, sends Deuce out, and then it's just like, the dead must rest, and I will not be cheated again. And then
Dun,
we
dun,
see
dun.
Frankie in their bed suddenly wake up. So
Right. So it's like, they're not going for Claudine, they're going for Frankie.
yeah, so I think because the Reaper was mad about Claudine, he's decided that he's
I'll
gonna
take a runner-up.
Yeah, that Frankie, who's, you know, multiple dead people, is gonna get pulled into the So you know, that's why earlier, you know, I feel like the idea is there's the Claudine movie, the Dracula movie, and next one will be
The Frankie movie.
Frankie versus the Reaper.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I literally hope it's just Frankie kicking ass.
Yeah, I will be so excited about that.
Well, all right, so here's my question, though. So if the Reapers come to take the dead back, so is he coming for Dracula 2 and Claudine? Like, there's a lot of students at this school that he should be going for. Demi?
Yeah.
At least half of Demi.
And there's the one zombie girl.
Right.
What counts as dead and what counts as a monster is very hazy in this. I mean, Cleo is a mummy. She's
Right.
theoretically dead too, right? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I feel like
All we're saying is Monster High 3 is going to be a bloodbath. How good would that be? Do you think Nickelodeon has the nerve to just be like, nope, we're going full horror movie on these monster kids?
it would be amazing.
You thought that crappy X-Men movie that was supposed to be a horror movie and was just shitty was bad.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting. I hope that they find some, like, fresh places to take it and don't just go back to the same well over and over again.
Right, the Reaper just doesn't like dead kids. So that's it. They should stay dead, damn it. Get off my lawn.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. But obviously, when it comes, we'll be here. We'll be talking about it.
Right, and don't get me wrong. Like, I'm proposing this movie. I understand full well at the very end, all the kids will have to get resurrected.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just because it's a Nickelodeon movie.
Yeah.
I just want to see a bunch of kids die. No, don't take All right.
You know, I mean, going one more time, going to Harry Potter, as those movies went on, they did get darker, they did get more intense, so it's possible.
No, there's no way. I mean, I'm here for it if it does, but I'm not seeing it, but I'm hoping it does.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get, like, full Deathly Hallows dark, but it might get a little darker.
Oh, man, what if they're saving up all their money for that? You know, we get a Nagini and moment. Is Frankie Neville? I mean, that matches, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Frankie was the hero all along.
Yeah. I really hope that Frankie gets their due in this next one and really gets to kind of beat the star.
Damn it, Nickelodeon, we're writing your movie for you. All you have to do is listen.
Yeah.
All right, where can they find us, Anthony?
So you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. You can find us over on YouTube. And you can find us, as always, at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where we've been watching this weird Reanimator spin-off series and finishing up the Munsters and, getting up to all kinds of fun stuff over there.
Yeah, we got a bunch of threads going, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, all right. So next week, this week, we've looked into some, more, monsters that were born, right? Mm-hmm. How about we go back to, maybe a few more man-made monsters? Or monster.
Yeah, so this one is... We've the past several movies have been, brand new, and then even before that, relatively modern. I don't think we've been past the 90s in a while. So it seems time to get to, something a little more classic. This is
1941 classic.
Yeah. This is it's a Universal movie. It's not part of the Universal cycle, but or it came out during the Universal horror cycle, but is not typically considered
part of it, right?
Yeah, one of the classic monsters. It is, I believe, Lon Chaney Jr.'s in it.
Yeah, Lon Chaney Jr. and Lionel Atwill.
Yeah,
we're getting some familiar faces.
Yeah, so it seemed time. We just had our 200th episode. We just rounded out 2 years.
200th.
Or 100 episodes. 200.
Holy shit.
100
Damn it! I did the time warp again.
But yeah, so it seemed like time to kind of go back to our roots and get to some real classic Universal stuff. So so I'm excited. I don't think I've seen this one. If I have, it's been so long that I have no memory of it. So
I can honestly say this will be a first for me, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else?
I think that's it.
To be continued. That was my Voldemort.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.